Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. This is where you would usually see a pregame video, but we're going to hold off on that. No point in doing a pregame video before we even have a final injury report. And given the fact that the game is Monday night, I'll probably be doing my pregame video Monday morning. But either way, we're going to do something else here today, this morning. I want to talk about a little something that happened yesterday and how it relates potentially back to the Seahawks because I talk about our tight end room a lot and how it may change dramatically next year. And right now, you take a look at it, we got three tight ends, and I know we all like them, we all appreciate them, Fant, Dissly, and Parkinson, but Fant is a free agent to be, and Parkinson is a free agent to be. And both of those guys have been playing out their rookie contracts. So they haven't made the big bucks yet. So I assume both guys are going to go out there and say, whatever I can get, I want to get. So let's take a look at an extension that was handed out by the Rams yesterday afternoon to their star tight end, not necessarily a star, but their starting tight end, Tyler Higbee. So Tyler Higbee got a 2-year, $27 million contract extension on top of the year he still had left on the contract that he was playing out this season. So 2 years, 27 million, that comes out to 13.5 million per year on the extension. Now, the language here is important. It's an extension. Higbee is going to have to go through this entire year before he hits free agency minus this extension, right? So the Rams are kind of doing him a solid by taking care of him now. So presumably he's kind of doing a solid back by saying, okay, you don't have to give me all the money that you'd have to give me if I was just free and clear. So $13.5 million a year to Tyler Higbee, who is a good tight end for sure, but he's certainly not Travis Kelce or George Kittle or anybody like that. He's also on the wrong side of 30, by the way. This is an older player now. This guy is going to be turning 31 before this regular season ends. He was a former fourth-round pick, so it's not like he's a blue chipper. He's not somebody who's still riding a first-round draft pick selection or anything like that. His best season was back in 2019. Still wasn't over 750 yards. In the last few years, he's pretty clearly settled into a role of having somewhere between 500 to 600 yards a year. So that's who Tyler Higbee is. According to the stats, he's good, but you wouldn't really call him great. Go to PFF and you look at what he did last season. He was good, but not great. He was a good receiver, not much blocking overall, just a decent player. You go back to 2021, you'll see roughly similar stuff. You go back to 2020, you'll just kind of get the idea of a player that is solid, effective, but not among the best in the league at his position. And he gets $13.5 million per year on his extension. And then I look at a guy like a Noah Fant on the Seahawks, who is finishing up the final year of his rookie deal. He's currently playing on the fifth-year option. A guy who is about 5 years younger than Tyler Higbee, was a first-round pick, and is probably overall a slightly better athlete than Higbee. It's close, but I do think Noah Fant's probably a slightly better athlete. And while you wouldn't call Noah Fant a great blocker either, he's proven to be pretty adequate at it since he got to Seattle. And you look at his numbers over his first 3 years in the NFL back in Denver, they look very similar to the kind of numbers that Tyler Higbee has been putting up over the last few years. Now, last year was kind of a down year, and this year may end up being kind of the same thing, but people are smart. I think people are smart enough to understand what's going on here. Noah Fant is in an offense with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. Now he's in an offense with JSN too. He's in an offense with two other tight ends that get a lot of attention. Sometimes Noah Fant will play less snaps in a game than Dissly and Parkinson. So it's not like Fant is not a good player now. It's just he's in an offense that is doing things differently. So I think people are going to look at that and go, look, this guy's clearly capable of having a 600, 700-yard season. He's just not going to in this offense. So with everything that I just said, the age, the draft pedigree, the production, the roughly similar abilities blocking, and the fact that he's going to be hitting the open market, this is not an extension situation. If Noah Fant gets to free agency, which at this point you have to expect that he will, could he get a contract in the 15 million a year range? I think the answer is yes. If Tyler Higbee is getting an extension worth 13.5 million a year, even if you say that, oh, that you should roll this year into it so it's actually a little bit less, it's still 8 figures a year. Is Noah Fant going to probably get offered more than that? As long as there's a team out there that needs a tight end like a Noah Fant, a really good athlete who does most of his damage as a pass catcher, then I think the answer is definitely yes. And can the Seahawks match an offer in that realm, 15 million a year? Yeah, the answer is no. So what I'm trying to say is Noah Fant, I don't think there's going to be much of a future for him here in Seattle. He's a nice player. I like him. I think that he's not going to be able to put up his full potential in this offense because of the way we do things. So I don't look at his numbers and go, "Oh, this guy's underachieving." I don't like that. This guy needs to be better. This guy needs to be having 100 yards every game. No, I don't think that's the case. I think that he does his job perfectly well. He's had really good hands ever since he got here. I don't know if he's dropped a pass. If he has, it's like one. So, yeah, he's a good player. And it seems to me that there's very little chance we're going to be able to keep this guy. It would take a franchise tag. And I don't think you're going to use a franchise tag on Noah Fant. Remember, the Higbee extension is coming now. The Fant contract, whenever it is, will come after the salary cap goes up again. So you put that all together, I think it's pretty clear that Fant's going to come into some serious money. Seahawks are not going to be able to keep up. Sometimes a player like a Noah Fant slips through the cracks. Like everybody just spends their money and then there's no money left for him. And then he has to kind of go take a 1 year deal for like 6 or 7 million. That happens every now and then, but it's unlikely. Now, I wanted to look at Colby Parkinson here because he's the other soon-to-be free agent tight end on this team. He, like Noah Fant, is young. He's about to turn 25. He's going to turn 25 right at the end of the season, actually. So he doesn't have the pedigree, of course, of a Noah Fant. He was a fourth-round pick. He was somebody who basically did nothing for 2 years. But then last year, in that three tight end offense that we utilized, he kind of broke out. 25 catches, 322 yards. Very respectable as a still, even though I understand that he may have actually been right up there in snap counts, the third tight end in the offense. And this year, so far, he's off to a pretty decent start. It's not anything over the top, but he may get approximately there again. He may end up with something like 20 catches for 250 yards. Maybe he gets up to 300 again. I don't know. But this is a player with some gas. And he's become a pretty decent blocker as well. You go to his PFF page, they think he's a good player as well. Grades are very similar to what we saw with Higbee, maybe even a little bit better. And you put all this stuff together, obviously Parkinson's not going to get the Fant contract, and he's not going to get the Higbee contract or anything like that. He hasn't produced enough. But what are we talking about here with Colby Parkinson? What could he get? You got to take a look at some of the other recent tight end contracts to try to frame it a little bit. And tight ends on Parkinson's level, maybe even a little below where Parkinson is, have gotten paid significant money in recent years. Example might be a guy like Josh Oliver on the Vikings, who this most recent offseason, 3 years, 21 million. So that's a $7 million a year contract. They even did some void year stuff to make it work, so they actually really wanted him. And Josh Oliver, I mean, former third round pick. He's young, like Parkinson is going to be when he hits the market. And, I mean, he has 0 seasons above 150 yards. His career high in receiving yards was 149, 14 catches, not even a catch a game. Not really any kind of a real receiving threat. He's doing better now in Minnesota, I guess. So maybe you could say they had the right read on him. But this doesn't really look like anything better than what you're getting from Parkinson, right? And you go to PFF, they like him. They thought his 2022 season was good. He's a good blocker. But Parkinson's a good blocker too. So 7 million a year, is that kind of where this conversation starts? What about a guy like Ian Thomas? He signed his extension Not the most recent offseason, the offseason before with the Carolina Panthers. 3 years, call it 17 million. So just under the 6 million a year. So call it 5.8 million a year approximately. Excuse me, 5.7 approximately. Yeah, you can go look at Ian Thomas's numbers. He had that one pretty nice rookie year in 2018, and then he had 3 straight years of basically a catch a game and basically 10 to 12 yards a game on average. Very, very forgettable. 2 touchdowns across 3 seasons. Didn't really do anything. PFF, they're not impressed. Not at all. This is just a guy. This is just like a guy who's out there. He's big. He's bigger than the average tight end. He's 260 pounds. Okay, sure. Pretty decent athlete, I suppose. Maybe you're paying a little bit for the hope that he breaks out. But this guy hadn't produced as much as Parkinson looks like he's going to produce going into his contract year. So are we looking at something around that 7 million range? Because this guy got a little less than 6 million, and he got it 2 off seasons before Parkinson's going to get his. The cap is going up, cap is going up. So is somebody going to look at him and go, well, he's in that 3 tight end system, can't put up big stats because he's competing with too many other tight ends. He's competing with DK and Lockett and now JSN. If we bring him here, his stats are going to go way up because we get to feature him more. And they just look at his talent, they look at what he does on a football field, and they're like, we like the mismatches he provides. We like his hands, we like the size, the red zone threat, and they give him an offer of something like 8 million a year. That sounds a little bit crazy off the top, right? Like you say, Colby Parkinson's going to get 3 years, 24 million. Initially, you're like, there's no way. He's our third string tight end. But then you look at it and you go, well, these other tight ends don't really seem like they're better than Parkinson, and at best they're about the same. And Parkinson's probably stunted a little bit in his production because he's playing behind Fant and Dissly. So, yeah, what I'm trying to say is there might be a $24 million contract waiting for Colby Parkinson at the end of the season. And can the Seahawks match that? Can the Seahawks pay that? Probably not. Not unless you're going to let Will Dissly go and save that money, give it to Parkinson, and then make Parkinson your number 1 or number 2 tight end. Or I guess you could keep both and then just say, okay, we're going to go super cheap with tight end 3. We can't prioritize that anymore. We're going to go Parkinson and Dissly as our tight end 1, tight end 2, and then we're going to get some 6th round rookie to be our tight end 3, and hopefully he works out to where he can play. But it's going to be an investment, and this team doesn't have a ton of money to work with here. This team has already made their big investments into guys like Geno, guys like Draymond Jones, guys like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, eventually, not yet, but eventually you're going to have to start investing in guys like Cross and Woolen and Lucas, K9, if you decide to go that path. So you're going to have to start thinking about setting aside some money for that, because that could be as early as 2025. Of course, you've got your investments still in guys like Diggs and Adams that you can't really get out from right now. There's not really a ton of money to go around to keep around a guy who's not going to be one of your key pieces. I don't think Noah Fant and Colby Parkinson are key pieces. Our tight end packages are a key piece, but at a certain point, you're going to have to go, okay, we're going to have to try to make this work with cheaper pieces. So what do you guys think? Any way we can make this work? Do you think I'm way off in my evaluations? Because I'm just looking at it. I'm just trying to piece this together. And the way I see it, if you're going purely based off their production on the field, Noah Fant deserves somewhere around 15 million a year, and Colby Parkinson deserves somewhere around 8 million a year. And meeting those contract expectations, not going to be easy. See you guys later. Go Hawks. A lot of college football today, streaming tonight for the Huskies, and hope to see you guys there.